a full in-depth Scythe guide. Y'all have been waiting for this, so let's get started. I wanted to split this video in a lot of parts, but at the end I decided to split it in 4 parts. First, Scythe Moves. Second, Scythe Strings, Combos and Reads. Third, Scythe Offstage. And fourth, extra tips based on all Scythe Legends and card meta. No wasting time, we're jumping on it right now. Scythe Neutral Moves. Neutral moves are attacks that you want to use when no player has an advantage on stage. And if you want to approach or put pressure on your opponent, these moves are less likely to be punished. We have 3 of them on Scythe. Enlight, Sair, and Nair. There is even less chance you'll get punished if you use reverse Sairs and Nairs. Unlike neutral moves, there are moves that are very punishable and should only be used when having a confirmed punish on your opponent. We will call them punish moves. And those moves are strong sidelight, weak sidelight. We will discuss about this later. Dair and reverse Dair, obviously, as well as reverse delight and strong delight. Scythe, Battle Boots and some signature in Brawlhalla have something called active input, which means based on a move you can choose either where to send your opponent after finishing the move or where you will end up after finishing the move. Scythe has 3 active input moves, one of them being Dair. You can send your opponent forward, or you can bring him behind you. Second one being Nair, again same thing as with Dair. And last one being Delight, again same stuff. You will be able to send your opponent to the side depending on which direction key you press after hitting him. All of these of course have different uses. Now that we cleared all Scythe moves and active input attacks, now it's time for the fun part. Scythe Strings and Combos. And we will start with unjumpable strings. But first, let me explain what unjumpable strings mean. Unjumpable strings are combos that are not possible to avoid if your opponent just burned their dodge. It is basically a confirmed hit. Let's start with unjumpable strings with weak sidelight. Weak sidelight can always string into Nair and Sair. It doesn't matter if your opponent is in deep red or just on a fresh stock. Also, if you gravity cancel sidelight, it can string into recovery. Now, Enlight is one of the best moves on Scythe because it can string into Nair, Sair, and recovery on any damage and any situation. You can also get a 3-piece string if you hit a weak sidelight stacked. That way you can do Enlight and Nair afterwards and it will not be jumpable. For the strong sidelight, you can string it with Delight sometimes, but since the dash update, this move has been escapable by either dashing in or dashing out. I recommend strong sidelight into dash Enlight. This string is not jumpable and it works until your opponent gets orangish. Now for the very low frame combos that not a lot of players expect, we have number 1, grounded Sair into Enlight or sidelight on white and yellow health. This is a 1 frame combo if inputted correctly, and also make sure to chase dodge either diagonally down or down after hitting a grounded Sair. These combos are very useful for combo starters. They feed you with confidence and not a lot of players expect it unless they used to play Scythe. Number 2, Dair into chase dodge Nair on red health. Now this combo I don't recommend as much as the last one, because first of all, if your opponent is on red, why would you ever go for Dair? You want to finish your opponent and Dair is not the right move to go for. But I understand there are some situations where you can only punish with Dair, and use this combo if something like that happens. Nair will get a bit more damage and you will be able to finish your opponent easily with some finishing moves that we will talk about later. Now let's talk about the best string on Scythe. If you catch your enemy's dodge, you're able to get up to 5 hits only if you're able to catch your opponent's jump. Let me show you. This string is always the same. Enlight into Nair, into Sair, into Nair, into Sair. It is always the same, but there is a catch. You have to read if your opponent is going to jump, and the only place where they can do that is after the first Sair. So from there, it is a 50-50 read. If they jump, chase dodge diagonally into Nair to catch jump and finish it off with a final Sair. Or if they don't jump, feel free to input another Nair or chase dodge forward into Nair if they are yellow when the combo was started. This main side string is unbelievably good because it is so consistent and it brings your opponent to orange health from 1 dodge read. This was the main punish you want to look for, but there are a lot of different ones since most of Scythe moves have the same force at any health, like reverse Delight, Enlight and weak sidelight. You can also do Enlight into Sair into 50-50 read if they jump or fast fall, or you can GC Delight and let the fate decide. Knowing the main string punish is very important because you might find yourself in a similar situation, like for example when you are punishing enemy dodge with reverse Delight. You will basically do again the Nair Sair thing. Same thing goes with Dair. You can either throw them behind you all the time or you can get a Nair Sair punish again. It is very important to learn this string. Nonetheless, if you're not in the position to use that string, just remember what unjumpable strings we mentioned before and use those and put them all together. Here's an example of reverse Dair punishing in more like gimping way, and the next example is putting all unjumpable strings together. Remember, Scythe is very good in offstage, we can all agree, but main damage is coming from Scythe's strong on-stage control. If you catch your enemy's dodge with reverse there, you can 90% always hit a Seer afterwards. It is jumpable on very early healths. But if you catch him with Dare, sadly Scythe got nerfed in recent patch and I would tell you to do one more Dare afterwards, but now it is jumpable and the best option would be to throw a weapon, because it is a confirm. And after picking up your weapon, either retreat back to stage and edgeguard or continue the gimp if you're feeling confident. It's time for Scythe true combos. These ones are interesting. First one, we got reverse Dare into D-Light. That works on orange. As well as the second one, which is Dare into Daylight. Both of these are super good for edge guarding. They do not kill but are very useful. Make sure that you need to hit perfectly reverse Dare and normal Dare in order to do these combos. If you hit them grounded, these will not work. Now for the wall true combos, we got Dare into Dare and Dare into ground pound. Again, from recent patch notes, I got a nerf in this aspect too, and now we have to damage the opponent a bit more to get these true. They also need to be hit perfectly, not to mention that opponent's defense also matters, but I won't burden you. Note that Dare into Dare is DIable because you got hit by the same move in a true combo, so players can survive this if they have enough amount of defense. But this sets for a perfect edgeguard where your opponent will have only one option to touch the wall, which will let you easily ground pound him. Dare into ground pound will always finish though. There is also some cool stuff you can do with walls like this one. You can do a Dare, perfectly position yourself above your opponent and throw a weapon into ground pound. Very low frames and hard for dodging. Also, if they just burn the dodge, this is obviously a confirm since it's not jumpable. But wait, how do you finish stocks on Scythe? Well, let's make a list of best moves for finishing stocks with Scythe. First one is going to be recovery. Second one is Seer. Third one is strong D-Light. Fourth one is strong sidelight. And fifth is signature. Always remember this list when you get your opponent to red, because this is the way to finishing. In neutral, you always want to fish for recovery because it has the most force. If you can't hit recovery, see if Seer is available, and so on. If your opponent made a huge mistake and you're getting a free punish, try to calculate if you will have enough time to punish with a signature, because if you do, then always do it. Punishing red stocks with Scythe signature is the best thing that can happen to you, because it usually either finishes the stock or gets your opponent in an edge guard. It is a win-win situation for you. This is one more reason why Enlight is the best move on Scythe. It strings into recovery and Seer, as we learned before, and these are the moves to go for. Also, weak sidelight can string into some N6 on some Scythe Legends for great finishing, but we will talk about this later. If you for some reason catch them with a reverse nair while they do not have a dodge, it is a 50-50 again. Will they jump or will they not? If they do, chase dodge into recovery is perfect. If they fast fall, chase dodge into Seer will catch. One thing that I like to do when I'm not sure what they're gonna do is chase dodging diagonally into Seer. You can use that one too. And of course, as we mentioned before, wall true combos finishing is perfect in edge guarding, but also don't forget that we don't necessarily need to use only these wall combos, we can also create our own. It is time for dodge reads, but from now on it's easy. You learned everything you need. Hitting a strong sidelight very early in the game, you can catch every dodge with Enlight. And guess what? That's when you use that main string punish that I taught you earlier. If you're a stock behind, I usually go for a gimp. Strong sidelight can catch every dodge with reverse there, which is obviously incredible for gimp combo starters. And if you dash jump after sidelight, you can catch spot dodge, dodge up, and even dodge up away with the reverse there. Feels unreal. And if you chase dodge, you can catch all dodges and dodge ups. Dash jumping and chase dodging is different, so based on your previous analysis on your opponent, decide what you will do. I think this is the perfect time to tell you guys one very important thing. We will release a full Zero to Death updated Scythe guide if this video gets 1000 likes. I will reveal all the tricks and how I think when I'm in offstage, so if you would like to see that, smash the like and consider subscribing to my channel if you don't want to miss it. And until then, you can watch this video from a long time ago on how to master the Scythes offstage, but first finish this video. Now let's continue with the video. There is also a lot of reverse delay reads and every dodge you can catch with jump, chase dodge into an air. If they dodge up the recovery. These reads are not even reads, I would say. This is more based on reaction. I plan on comparing reading and reacting in some of the next videos, so if you would like to see that, comment down below, because I will also expose my secrets about reacting to dodges instead of reading them. I'm sorry for advertising my future content here, but we will only focus on the current guide from now on. A whole point of Scythes on stage is to get a read and try to sneak in the full string that we talked about. That is why we use weak sidelight and endlight to keep opponent from touching the ground after dodging. Because as you all know, if you touch the ground, you get your dodge back shortly. We use these reaction punishes with sidelight and endlight, and we try to catch them with endlight in order to get the full punish if they dodge anywhere else other than up. If they dodge up, we try to react with jump in air and still get the full string. How many times now I mentioned that main string punish? If you still don't know how to do it, I'm pretty sure you should learn it. As you see, we use it everywhere. You have to know it because all the damage is based on that string. It is finally time for some offstage side stuff, and let's start with edge guarding first. Edge guarding is a position where you take your opponent to the side of the map or even under it in order to get them to use resources that they have, like jumps and recoveries. We want to force them to come back to the stage, and during the process, we want to hit them as much to get that nasty game. All the side moves like recovery, Sair, there, and reverse there, reverse nair, D-lights, all of them are insanely useful in Scythe offstage because they all send to the side. Only ground pound sends downwards, so that is why Scythe is made for gimps on the side. Edge guarding with Scythe is for that reason very easy. The only Scythe's dead zone is directly above you, and that will never be the case in the edge guard. Edge guarding with the reverse nair is one of the best ways to put pressure and build damage at the same time. Once the opponent uses their recovery, this is doable until they have almost no options. Be careful because sometimes they will try to hit you in order to get the chase dodge. You will see more examples of how to edge guard, but for now let's move on. How to recover back to stage with Scythe. Sadly, this is not very easy. Scythe's recovery is extremely punishable, and one wrong click can lead to you dying in offstage just because of the Scythe's recovery. So that is why I will give you multiple options on how to recover. First, using Scythe's recovery first, and while you're getting back, try to touch the wall using nairs and Sairs to put pressure on your opponent so he doesn't engage you while you're out of options. When you touch, try catching them again, reverse nair, and if you succeed, now the tables have turned. They are being edge guarded now. Never use Scythe's recovery as a last option. You will get punished 9 out of 10 times. Instead, try getting back to stage with either the first tip or the second one, which is throwing your weapon right above you, which will protect you from incoming attacks. After recovering, mix up your movement options and you should be safe. It is time for some extra offstage stuff. Use GC end lights and GC weak side lights into recovery when they burn a dodge. The reason why this is so good, you might be able to understand yourself from previous stuff I talked about. First of all, end lights and weak side lights into recovery are both unjumpable, though make sure to do chase dodge into recovery after GC and light. In addition, recovery has the most force out of all moves except for 6, and it is the most optimal move to go for when you are in offstage or edge guarding. Try to react to stuff happening in offstage. Even if you go for a spot dodge into gravity cancel, if you're not feeling confident, leave it as a spot dodge and try continuing the edge guard without it. And don't be afraid to go for a gimp. We all make mistakes, and all the side players who are good in offstage now were failing at the start. Don't let this discourage you, and the reason why you should learn this is simply because Scythe can flip games very quickly with one gimp, and it can be so powerful in offstage if used correctly. As I said, try reacting in offstage as much as possible. Avoid going for reads unless you're 90% sure, because if you go for a read, you might get punished, and extending side stocks can be extremely dangerous for your opponent. Don't let him rest. Last tip for offstage is using strong delay to catch jumps. Even fast falls, but that is a bit harder. Remember the range and use it whenever you feel like your opponent will jump or dodge into it. I can't even explain myself how useful it is. Even reverse D-lights, when they have no dodge, you can get the chase dodge into reverse nair for free and get back to edge guarding. Now it's time to discuss about different Scythe Legends, and I think every single one of them has something interesting about themselves. Let me show you. We talked about weak silence into NC before, and now we will talk about it. It is unjumpable string on Mirage, but why is it so special? Well, because Mirage's NSIG kills on orange, and it is the strongest Scythe NSIG in the game. When playing Mirage, you definitely want to switch to on-stage weak sidelight finishing rather than recovery, just for this simple reason. For Nyx, there is not much to say about. She has the best Scythe SIG kit in the entire game, no doubt, with all 3 SIGs being very strong and useful. Mordex, the OG pick, most popular pick that thanks to Sandstorm. Best Scythe stats in the game, all very useful SIGs and very reliable second weapon. Artemis, the only Scythe legend that can be played on 9 speed and very hard legend because of the lance being the second weapon. Also, weak silent NSIG is unjumpable on Artemis. Juro, the worst stats out of all Scythe Legends, but his Scythe is fast as butter. SIGs are nothing too special, though D-SIG has a lot of force and NSIG is the only SIG on Scythe that actually hits right above, so Juro has no dead zones. Fate, insanely good in my opinion, insane Scythe SIG and NSIG, also a reliable secondary weapon, decent stats, very good. Volkov is the only Scythe Legend that can fly with Scythe and survive the unsurvivable. very decent Sigs, but stats are kinda bad. Sigs, side Sig is insane though. Munin is not really played a lot because bow players usually don't like Scythe and Scythe players usually don't like bow, so yeah, other than that, very underrated. Bow being a very good weapon always, and his side Sigs are very good for offstage, and also weak side and Sig is unjumpable. Loki is still broken, guys. I'm still wondering who has better Sigs, Loki or Nyx. But Loki's Sigs are made for offstage, quite literally. Also, weak side into Sig is unjumpable if sidelight is hit stacked. And some final speech about Scythe. Everyone who is watching this and is not diamond yet, this part should not affect you at all. Even diamonds should not be affected, only 2400s and above. Simply because in Brawlhalla there is usually no counter picks, because there is a big skill gap everywhere except in 2400s. Counter picking matters in pro play mostly, okay? Scythe is hard countered by Lance. Lance has all 3 moves grounded, D-Light, End-Light and Sidelight, and they all counter all side grounded moves. Lance has recovery and Sear that basically lets you fly, and you don't have to touch the wall ever because you don't need to. And Scythe really struggles to keep Lance for that reason. Bow has way more range than Scythe with D-Light, so approaching a bow player while playing Scythe is going to be a pain. Same for Axe. Most Axe moves are just generally better than Scythe moves, and Axe deals hell lot of damage, making it hard to play against it. Everything else is either in Scythe's favor at the same level. So for Scythe, I think it's an easy S tier. Very good, reliable weapon. I hope you all enjoyed this full Scythe guide. It took a lot of effort for all of this to put together, and I hope you found something useful. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next time. Peace.